what I'm going to talk about today is something very annoying I came across in recent projects I worked on. Sometimes you need a modal or a dialogue to confirm that you actually want to do an action related to maybe deleting or modifying or anything else. And it's pretty annoying to see in a container component the fact that you have to add the modal and also store its view state. And since this was driving me nuts, I spent some time to come up with solutions to make this easier on the eyes, let's say. So why is this pretty bad? Because in a container component, you would have to waste, let's say, around 20 lines just to define a model. Maybe ideally this would be in a component. That's what we are going to do next. But we also have to keep it state here just for delaying basically this action. And the first step we can do to encapsulate this in some way is to actually refactor this model and store it in a component, which is what I'm going to do now. We need to see when this model is open, how to close it, and to also give it the handler that executes the delete action. And if we store it here, and we actually can store it as a pure component, bear with me for a second, we can replace it here, give it the adequate props, and the delete handler, and we're good to go. Also have an application open for this. You can see it's a simple delete button that opens a model, and when I confirm that I actually want to delete that resource, I get a toast saying that this was successful. Well, this is a huge improvement since we removed 20 lines from our container component, but we can certainly go further. We still have to track this model's view state here, which we don't want that. One thing we can do further to further encapsulate this, and so our container component doesn't know the fact that we are actually trying to ask the user to confirm that he or she actually wants to do this. We can actually use a custom button instead of using these two components. And that's what we are going to do next. We can refactor this entire thing. We will need the onClick function and all the props in case we want to style the button further there. We would move this hook into the delete button component. And these two components as well, we would store them into a fragment. And we also need to create a handler here. So we can close this model and we can execute the method that actually deletes what we want to delete. We can remove that from here. We can add the button. On the onClick prop, we can pass the delete handler we've been using all along. And this is even greater. And as you can see, nothing has changed. This is working as intended, just as before. This might seem pretty simple, and basically it is. This is where, sorry, I forgot to pass the props to the bottom. This is where most of you might have to stop because this is enough. Anything beyond this is over-engineering. But since I was so addicted with it, I came up with another solution, scrolling through articles and blogs and whatever. And since this is a lengthy one, I just saved it and called it Going Nuts. since that's what we are basically doing. Coming back to our container component, we can see that our components disappeared, and we have the delete button working just the same. As you can see, it works just as fine. What has changed then? Well, going into the delete button, we see that now we are using a use confirmation hook, and on our handler, we are waiting for a confirmation from a promise. If we go further into that hook, we can see that this hook actually uses the confirmation model context. And yes, this is where the magic, let's say, happens. We are storing the model into a context now, which is wrapping our entire application. As you can see, this is the provider, and this is our container that you could see here. And what this does basically is that it stores a promise into a ref. It's a pending promise once the button calls the ask method, and it's either resolved by confirming or it's rejected by canceling, by clicking that other button. And what this does is that it further encapsulates the model. So if let's say you have to use 10 delete buttons on the same page, you wouldn't have 10 models, just one, because you are using the same one for each button. And this is pretty much cleaner, but again, this can be called over-engineering by many of you. And that is pretty much it. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Calin. That was really a wonderful talk. In fact, I feel this is like one of the way to also make your models and dialogues accessible enough. Thank you for that talk. Let's quickly see if we have some questions. Okay, no questions, but maybe we can just discuss about it. So, what do you suggest? Should everyone just have like a custom models or dialogues built in their design systems, or do you say we should go for like third-party libraries which are already available?
I think that we should start with third-party libraries, definitely, but we should adapt them based on the design of the project. But third-party libraries certainly have a pretty solid foundation. We shouldn't reinvent the wheel based on that.
And what are the common problems you feel developers go through when they kind of are working with models and dialogues? If they don't think in a direction where it is accessible or not.
One issue I came across is that we were overusing models in a certain project instead of using different pages. And when it comes to responsiveness, that can pretty much ruin the user experience because the model would need certain spaces around it. And it's pretty hard to design a solid user experience based on models on mobile if there are forms on it or anything more complex than that.
Very true. Yeah, I agree. Yuan, Mads, do you have something to add to it? Like if you've been working with models or dialogues, how do you take care of it?
Yeah, I especially like the fact that you repeat that we don't need to over-engineer everything, and we going step by step and doing small things at a time is probably the best way to do things. So yeah, really great approach.
Thank you.
Yuan, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I really like the way you use the promise for example for the answer of the button, the yes or no. Yeah, that's something I will keep in mind on my implementation.
Calin, do you have some GitHub link that you could share across for users who
Not
are?
yet, but I can do it at the end of the conference.
Yep, sure. Okay, then maybe if you want to give some, like, also, like a key takeaway that how and what people should keep in mind while working with dialogues or models.
Is that we shouldn't over-engineer it. The last step that I've shown you is most likely called over-engineering. The third step would be more than enough. But I think outside of projects, we shouldn't be afraid to explore this kind of solutions.